Never get a flat again. Or is it worth it? Today we're going to compare mousse tubes versus actual tubes. A mousse tube is a rubber or foam insert that you can install in place of a tube. The big question is it worth buying and using? I've been using mousse tubes for about 3 years now in Works A, Works Pro-Am, and NGPC Pro-Am. Mousses prevent flats. They give a PSI feeling of about 6 to 11 based on the hardness of the tube. Mousses will tend to dig in more to the ground than an actual tube would because of the lower tire pressure. If a mousse gets too soft for your liking, you can just cut up another tube and stuff it in. One of the biggest drawbacks to mousse tubes though is that they're quite expensive. They soften after a while, needing to be replaced more often than tubes if you don't get flats with tubes. They are quite difficult to mount if you don't do them properly or don't have the correct tools to mount. Unlike tubes, every single tire needs a different kind of mousse. My biggest con about mousses is that they deaden the feel of the front tire. Tubes are relatively cheap compared to mousses. Even high-end tubes are cheap compared to any type of mousse. Tubes are also quite easy to mount compared to mousse tubes, as all you really need is baby powder or Windex to mount a tube. Tubes are more universal for each tire size. For me, the biggest pro about a tube is it provides feeling of the ground. However, tubes can get flat. This would be the biggest choice why you would move over to mousses rather than tubes. You can also pinch the tubes while mounting them, making it a little bit difficult for the inexperienced mounter. Sometimes tubes can provide too much feel to an individual that doesn't want as much feel on their front end or rear end. Personally, based on feel alone, I like a tube in the front and a mousse in the rear. Many people have told me this is a bad idea, as the con of getting a flat beats any kind of pro that a tube might have. I disagree, as I would rather have more feel and confidence in the corner on my front wheel. Personally, I find mousses tend to give more of a flat feel on the front, which I don't find desirable. If you're riding moto on a prep track that doesn't get any crazy ruts, I would recommend sticking with tubes. If you ride GPs, which is motos and off-road, I would suggest at least a mousse in the rear, as the tracks can be much more unpredictable than a moto track. If you ride enduro or trails, I fully recommend both tires have a mousse in it, as having functional tires in this type of riding outweighs any benefits that a tube might have. If you've ever had to fix a flat in the field with zip ties, hit that subscribe button and click this video if you want to learn how to do a wheelie.